lives is so definition oriented. I mean, if you and I are sitting here talking, we're joining lives, right? But to what end? We're friends. But, I mean, I think that you have to begin with the end in mind, basically. God's kingdom on earth.
I have never lived in a city before. These first words are what I found myself repeating over and over again this summer, in answers to Uber drivers, to coworkers, to every conversation I started that I wasn't quite sure how to continue, which have been quite a few. My other conversation prompt, "How long have you lived in Atlanta?" also proved to be a good entry point for me to learn about my new friends. Some of the friends I meet over the months didn't live how we might consider conventionally. While some held cushy jobs, others collected soda cans on the street to sell back to the city. Some had dedicated their entire lives to their family, and for others, this community had become their family. Some lived in the wealthiest suburbs of Atlanta, and some slept by the Pont Street Market. But they all lived in the metropolitan city, and they all gathered on one of the most historic streets in the South on Saturday morning and played Scrabble, drank coffee, and laughed in community. This was my first experience with reconciliation. Sitting on brightly colored folding chairs, chasing the shade on a concrete slab, and connecting with people I never would have imagined. This wasn't a mission trip or community service or an attempt to rescue the poor and homeless. This was a family, and a holy one at that. At the beginning of the summer, I knew nothing about reconciliation, and at the end of the summer, I knew more but understood even less. But I had been brought into life-changing community, and I wanted to learn more. I can barely even remember why I decided to study in Cape Town. But after this summer, my first reason didn't really matter. I wanted to understand race and reconciliation in South Africa so that I could try and understand race and reconciliation in the United States. I wanted to understand whiteness, and I've spent the last 8 months grappling with my identity as white. What does it mean to be white? For a long time, I didn't know that it could mean anything. But as I read and talked and listened and learned, I started to see that the culture of whiteness has had more implications for my life than I could have imagined, especially when it comes to the work of reconciliation. If you have come to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. Lilla Watson. I came to South Africa to understand my whiteness, not because I wanted to save others from it, but because I was starting to clearly see how devastatingly it had shaped my life, and not always in ways that had benefited me. I don't mean to say that I'm disavowing my whiteness. That would be the easy way out, not to mention impossible. And I don't mean to say that my life has been more difficult because I am white. Nothing could be further from the truth. But after being in real community all summer with people who are different than me, whether that was race, class, social status, or whatever, it was a painful transition back to my predominantly white, predominantly upper class university. I saw that my life has been missing so much because I haven't had close relationships with people of color. I saw how restricted my white friends and families' lives have been in the confines of an all-white worldview, an all-white box that people have unknowingly trapped themselves in because they've been told it's safer or better. I wanted my experience in South Africa to give me answers to everything. I wanted to leave knowing how the U.S. could accomplish reconciliation, as if it's an end goal that can never be met. Obviously, that hasn't happened. This experience is leaving me with more questions and frustrations, but also insight, community, and connection that this journey would be impossible without.